late, and then we were having some technical difficulties with WebEx. So I appreciate everybody's patience. We will sort of get right into the agenda. I'm actually going to just, if it's okay with you, Mr. Moralta and Dr. Lehman, just because I wanted to get the different legislative things up, and I was busy fighting with WebEx to do that. So if we can start with the last agenda item, which was just the communication sort of for like the start of the school year. What I really just might be helpful is to just sort of share with the community. Well, there's two things on there. So the first is Monroe News. So I guess, Mr. Moralda, if you just want to give a quick update about that, that would be great.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So, excuse me. We're very thrilled with the way things came out in the previous issue of Monroe News. Ms. Kennedy and the communications office have been an absolute pleasure to work with. So much so where they gave us the opportunity to submit some more content, which we did. And at the risk of spoiling what the content is, I'll divulge a little bit. And there were two items that had been requested specifically out of this committee. The first is the winter concert series for the upcoming school year. So now everyone who will review the Monroe News will get to see our concert dates, where they're at, and the different ensembles across all grade levels. And we remind our public, that all of our concerts, our scholastic concerts, are open for free, and we encourage you to come see us. So now in the Monroe News, if you want to mark your calendars, I know it seems crazy to think about holiday concerts, but they'll be here before you know it. And then the other thing we were really excited to put together, and thank you to Mr. Snyder, obviously, and his staff, Mr. Riley specifically, who helped us get that together. Who just got engaged, by the way, Mr. Riley. The other item we were able to get together, and this one was really fun to work on, was we designed this fall sports preview. And what was really cool about this is that as the committee may know, we have interns that work with us throughout the school year as part of our work-based learning program. And last year, right around this time, we introduced all new positions to our high school, the sports marketing interns. And when Ms. Kennedy and the township let us know that the next edition of the Monroe News was going to come out shortly after Labor Day, we thought it was a really cool opportunity to see what these interns could do. And young lady Julia Arts put together an incredible fall sports preview, and she did it while she was on summer vacation. She's not even on the clock yet. At least I hope she knows that. We're really excited to see what that can do, and just another really simple and free way to connect with the community, to let them know what's going on, but also as a way to share some of the things that are happening, sometimes right under our nose, and just kind of bring us a little bit closer together. We did run a couple more journalistic pieces about some of the things that were happening in the school year, and I'll let our community read those. And we really try to be diverse in the content that we selected. It was a little challenging over the summer, but throughout the year, we hope that the Monroe News will allow us to continue to work with them. And then once school starts, we'll take some ideas, obviously, from the committee. If there's anything that your constituents in the community would like to hear more about through that type of publication, we have a lot of different things within the school district we can cover. So we're grateful for that opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you for your work on getting that done. I would say for me, one thing which is a little bit harder just because there's a lot more of them than there are necessary performances, but also be athletic schedules. I don't know how we could share all of that for every team. Obviously, we can provide a link to the schedules as well, maybe then highlight certain teams throughout the year. But, obviously, I want to have equity across like the different things that, students are participating in. So that would just be something that I would think people might want to see.
Yeah, and that was something that we thought about. And Mr. Barandika does have an official website where all of our calendars are, but knowing that kind of defeats the purpose of a printed news article. So what Mr. Giaquinto and his students did were they included key games. For each fall sports preview, we included a senior night, and if there was like a key matchup that we thought would be of particular interest. And she surveyed, and our intern surveyed all this information directly from the staff. So we asked them, if there's a game that you really want our public to come out and check out, what would it be? So I think you'll be happy with what you see in there.
Okay, great.
And we look to hopefully continue to build that out. But to your point, one of the things that we hope to accomplish this year through our work-based learning program, specifically through our interns, is to increase our broadcast reach and increase our ability to bring people in and also push content out.
Okay, that's wonderful. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Any other ideas? Okay, sounds good. Look forward to seeing that. It was very exciting when we saw it the first time. So the other part of the just the community engagement component that I sort of wanted to just touch on was the start of the school year, parent and student communication. So I mean, as a parent, I've been receiving things, but I know like there's a lot of questions from parents about when to expect schedules or classroom teachers, depending on, you know, the grade level, where to look for supplies. So I just thought it might be helpful to go into that. Like, I don't know if Dr. Lehman, you want to sort of take that and share like the things that you feel would be relevant for people to know with the school year starting.
Yeah, I would just say watch your emails because the buildings are pushing information out. Middle school and high school schedules were shared starting at 6 p.m. tonight.
Yep.
So if middle school and high school parents want to log into their parent access, towards the end of the week, that's when the elementary schedules will be pushed out. But again, communication has been occurring from individual buildings, and then once the teacher pieces are out there, that's the next step is the supply lists and things like that, which were all linked to from the buildings, the individual buildings websites and things. We've been pushing out communications for summer reading, summer math packets, additional summer work. We've been pushing out information regarding athletics. So, it's a pretty steady stream, and it certainly has picked up in the last few weeks. So I think it's ongoing. It's like I said, a steady stream. There's been multiple, some things get multiple messages that go out. So if you're on vacation, you miss the first one, you see the second one, that kind of stuff. But, this is the week where everything starts to get shared in terms of placement and schedules and things.
Okay. Do the elementary schools, are they all released at the same time approximately through Genesis?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The elementary coordinates their distribution just like the high school and middle school do theirs as well.
Okay. And then school supplies. I know that we've had this discussion before. From what I recall, please correct me if I'm wrong, each grade level at the schools is creating a grade level list of school supplies, I believe.
Yeah, all the details are on the website. We did encourage all the buildings to have common supply lists. I know at the middle school, there's each team has common supply lists and things. So yeah, I mean, all that information can be found online at the individual websites.
All right.
Yep.
Gail, Usha, Amanda, anything from you guys?
No, school has been always good. When my kids were at school, never had any problem. Everything was handled very nicely. So
Yeah.
I think they're doing the same thing very good, and I'm in better now. So it's good. I'm happy.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy watching them all try to guess who their teachers are going to be and everything. And my daughter just got her high school schedule. So Amanda, I know you're in the same boat as I am. So that's exciting
Yes,
for us.
I definitely miss Genesis. It was so exciting in the evening, come from work and watch what they did, what's next. And they would be so mad at me. Why do you want it first thing in the evening? You want to watch that? I like it.
Awesome. All right. Wow. Ms. Alvarez will be very impressed if we still finish by 7:45, even with starting late. So we'll try. So the next thing was, I'm just going kind of in backwards order. The advocacy portion of the district website. I just figured it's been a few months since we took a look at it, and so I just thought it might be helpful just to review it, see if there's any changes we want to make. I know we have our like the budget stuff is on there. I'm looking as, there's been updates to it. But just in terms of our letter, it's always we've worked for many months on that. We got it out, but like most things, there's always changes in terms of what our needs are. So, I don't think we necessarily need a huge overhaul to it, but I just thought it might be a good discussion for us to have as a committee. So.
So, Dr. Lehman, if you don't mind, I can share some of the thoughts we've had on. So when we create, I'm just on the site now, so I'm going to flip over, so I can't see any facial expressions or annoyed body language. It says, let me know. So we had originally designed the site as kind of to be like an ongoing medium for us to stay fresh on the topic du jour, let's say, right? And when I was thinking about this, because one of the things that we had talked about discussing later in the fall, would strategic planning update, and that was one of the things we had discussed, potentially discussing at Citizens Advisory Committee. And in our experience, it seems like a lot of times those advocacy topics tend to come to a head pretty quickly in some instances. So maybe what we can do is look at kind of some of the calendars, maybe work backwards and preliminarily identify what we think our advocacy efforts are going to look like for the year. I can archive everything that's on here currently, including, we still have, if you scroll down, we still have the testimony. Ms. Bora and Ms. Ratner's testimony is still up there. I don't think we need to purge that. But it might be worth housing it in a cleaner, maybe archival way, and then clear it out, saying, even if we just have the site say, advocacy topics 25, 26 coming soon, click here to review previous year's discussions and actions. We could do something like that temporarily until the committee has something that they want to add up there. Because my guess, just based on how things went last year, I felt like, yeah, we were kind of kicking around. All of a sudden, we had hearings and we wanted to get content out there. So anything we can do on the front end, even if we just kind of put a template up there where we know we would want to drop testimony or templates, that might be helpful, because as we saw last year, I think we found out like on a Thursday that one of you had to testify, or like letters were due on like a Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but the good news is it wouldn't take very long to ask Mr. Feldman to help us retcon that jot form, or like just taking our old letters and revising them to talk about whatever we want to talk about. But inevitably, we're gonna have to update some information on here. We have elections coming up and stuff like that. So I think it would be easy to say that we should have at least a clean website by the next time we meet next month, if that's okay with you.
Okay. I like when I went to the menu, I saw that there was, the sub link, I guess, with the Fight for Fair funding, which sort of has what you said, that historical information. So almost it looks like that the constant Fight for Fair funding that Monroe has had over the last 10 years, we'll say longer, but that's what we can sort of see, just to sort of see all the efforts from administrations and boards past and present, in terms of trying to advocate. So I definitely like that idea, while keeping the current advocacy site as current as possible, with things that we can do as opposed to things that we have done.
Well, then that could almost become like a running record as evidential support when we go back next time. Say, as you can see, this has been going on for some time. Take a look at our website, and you can see where our efforts have been and how far they've come. And I think that not only strengthens our argument, but it shows the community that even though we haven't had necessarily the outcomes that have maybe satisfied everybody, we still have a plan. We've made some efforts, and that'll also give the community an opportunity to look back on things we've done and maybe even offer some areas for improvement.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, Ms. Ratner. Yeah, I spoke to Senator Greenstein Sunday, and she was saying that she doesn't think, to be honest with me, that Monroe's not going to get much more money than we have gotten over the past few years, because they still consider us to be a very wealthy town. And I said, what about the senior community? And she doesn't think that that new funding formula, she didn't say it right out. It might not include, something to the effect that I think, Kate, you and I discussed it before too, and it was in the original funding formula. And I spoke in Trenton about it, that I was a senior and I didn't think it was fair.
Mhm.
But she said, I have to tell you the truth. I don't think you're going to get that much more than what you're getting now. So we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Coming down the pike, she tries. I thanked her for the money she gave us.
Mhm.
And she said, I try hard for Monroe because I know what a good district it is.
Mhm.
But because the state considers us a wealthy district,
Mhm.
we might not fall into any more of the money.
Right.
I'm just keeping you abreast of it
No, and
from her.
I appreciate that. Obviously that like it aggravates me, as I'm sure you understand,
Oh, yeah.
especially with all the efforts that we've put in. And this isn't just her, but we need people that are gonna advocate for this formula to be changed because it's very clear that we are getting penalized along with other districts in a
Yes.
similar boat that
Yeah.
where our local fair share is not being calculated correctly because of the wealth. Because it looks like we have more wealth than we do, because some of the wealth that is recorded as like as what
Right.
seniors have is being spent in other states or other things like that, which they don't take into account. And so even while, yes, like I think we can all say we're grateful for all the things we do get, a lot of times we're only getting these allocated to us because of all the things we haven't already gotten, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
it's like you punch someone in the face, but then you give them a Band-Aid to make them feel better kind of thing. I'm not really sure what else we can do. I haven't actually even heard of the formula itself being what any of the
Yeah, okay.
modifications are
Yeah.
yet, other than, certain changes to how like they look at the like the years. So they're doing like the history of 5 years instead of 3 years,
Right.
small things
Right.
like that, but nothing that is going to change the way they're funding education in New Jersey. And ultimately, I feel like there's two routes, right, that can really make that change. One would be the Department of Education, and one would be the legislature. And I feel like we need to continue. I mean, that's our job, right? Even though sometimes it sort of feels like I'm banging my head against the wall, right? To explain, like, it's not like, yeah, we all love $100 million, in our pockets, but it's not because we just want it. It's because that we should be getting it and we're not, and this is why. Um,
We can still go after Senator Gopal too. He is a proponent. I think he's on that committee, isn't he, Kate, if I remember?
Yeah, he was the chair.
So, I mean, I know they want to try to get him for Middlesex County as one of the speakers at one of the meetings. Again, around the time when it should be announced about the funding formula.
Right.
So we're going to try to get him. There's nothing to say we can't contact the rest of our senators. I mean, we
Right.
rely on Senator Greenstein,
Right.
but we have other senators and other people around and that we can go after too.
Right. I mean, so
You know?
we have the two assembly people as well,
Yes.
who, also should be advocating for this change. They came, it was
Mhm.
just over a year ago, the memory popped up. But, I think, and I had spoken with Senator Greenstein about this briefly. The issue sometimes with legislation is you have to have support from other legislators, right?
Right.
And so I can understand if Monroe is the only one being affected or one of 5 districts being affected by certain things, it's hard to enact like law that will change. But I feel like that's why right now the school funding formula overall is such a crucial element, because there are all these other districts that are now having issues with the funding formula as well. And so they're aware that the funding formula itself is not really working. I think right now we're in a weird place because of the upcoming election in November, potentially new governor, well, definitely new governor, but we don't really know what the changes will be in terms of that in the legislature, because that itself could create a lot of change we don't really know. So they might be hesitant to make changes right now, knowing that they're not really sure what's coming. But it definitely is frustrating when you hear that
Yeah.
after all
Yeah.
the efforts that, all of us have put into advocating for this.
And even with, I think with the president doing away, is going to do away with the Department of Education, and it's going to be on the backs of each state. I'm not sure if that went through. There's going to be some changes there too. The
Right.
state's going to have to change everything and, really, I guess, I don't know, start from the beginning, but for us, I'd like to see them start from the beginning and change their ways, but I don't know where we can get in there. We've got to try to find where we can get in someplace. So.
Right. When we met with, the commissioner and all of that stuff, I know we spoke mostly about kindergarten when we were on that call, but we also had spoken about the formula. The commissioner is the one who created the formula, which is, I feel like, also part of the issue, right? Because it's his baby, right? Like it's the same thing where I heard when we were discussing and was it NJSLA? There was something that, a lot of legislators wanted to get rid of that we were being told at the legislative committee, but the senator who had proposed this initially was the one that, is still sort of in charge of making some of these decisions. So it's like, you're not really gonna criticize your own idea. I mean, people can do it, but it's less likely. I don't, I would love to hear from anyone, whether it's community members, board members, like what else can be done, because this has been a fight 20 years in the, almost at this point, and it's changed a little here and there, but it's definitely not changed where we need it to be.
Can you propose it, Dr. Lehman, and at a CAC meeting to see if the people there have any ideas or connections with any kind of government agency or something? I don't know. It might be a topic to have them maybe go out as an assignment and find somebody that they can bring back that we can write to. I don't know if that's good, good advice or not, Dr. Lehman. What do you think?
Well, I think the role we've taken with our CAC committee is, using them to, meet with their constituents and or just, share information with us. So we can certainly have, a conversation with them, and, it's a similar group it's the same group that we were working with. So I think if there were some strong connections, we probably already have them in our in a Rolodex by now, but I think we continue to have the conversations. I think the advocacy continues.
Yes.
I think we got somewhere in terms of, incremental supplemental funds the past few years, and that's been extremely helpful for us. The big piece that we all look forward to is potentially a different formula that better accounts to help us. But again, what the reality of that looks like, we can continue to advocate for our needs and our relatively unique needs to be considered. But ultimately, that is a much bigger hurdle than special allocations on a yearly basis.
Right.
So I think we continue to advocate. I don't think we stop. But I think we also continue to move ahead like we have been with other ways to do things, other ways to look at things. In our Monroe perspective, is which we've really come, the past decade or so, making things happen with what we have. And that's benefited us in many ways, where the other districts are ebbing and flowing differently than we do, getting squeezed the past few years. Because we weren't flooded with funding for 10 or 15 years prior to this, we didn't have to go through that piece, right? We've learned to do with what doesn't make it right, but we've learned to do with what we've had, instead of having a surplus and having to cut back to make those special S2 requirements. So, but moral story there is we continue to push forward, right? We continue to advocate for our needs. We continue to speak to the uniqueness of our population in town, and we just try and move forward with what we have.
Yep. And I think it's actually sort of a good segue into like our final topic, which is, in addition to doing that, I think it's also important for us to, maybe advocate when there's legislation that can help us in other ways. Obviously, funding formula change is, important. And we, like Dr. Lehman, just said, like, well, we need to keep on that. But there's also been bills where we can, get funds for certain things that have been proposed at times. I had shared a copy of the Capital Watch that was sent out from school boards, that, anybody can see it. It's on a public website. But I think that, there's a few on here that I felt it was important for us to sort of highlight. So the first one was that S3910, which is it's built to be known as the New Jersey Universal Preschool and Kindergarten Act. And then there were a few other bills that sort of go along with that. So essentially, one of the things is it mentions we know that full day kindergarten will be mandated as of the 2029-2030 school year. I know that we've discussed, the hope of getting it started sooner, much, than that. So, I know we're getting close to time having started later. I don't want to go too much into that, but just the other components of that bill, one is a preschool expansion grant, where it's a grant that provides free access to high quality preschools for residents for 3 and 4 years in districts that don't, at the time of application for the grant, have state funded free preschool programs. And then there's certain requirements for it, obviously. I know one of the things that it mentions also was there's a preschool cost sharing pilot program. It's a 3-year pilot program, which says preschool aid for participating districts would be calculated by multiplying the district aid percentage. And then there's also the discussion, sort of what we heard at the Department of Education about partnering with, local preschools in the area, because obviously one of our biggest issues has always been space, but sort of trying to find ways to work, I don't want to say around that, well, I guess around that challenge. We still have the funding challenge in general, so it's hard to do that. But I know we've sort of discussed this bill here and there, but now it's been signed and finalized. And so I don't know if, anybody has other things to say about it. I know that, we've been making progress in terms of full day kindergarten with the, demographer's report. We're looking at next steps. Anybody have anything? I'll just keep going, but.
No, I think we'll have an update on full day K and where we stand, and it's much past where the demography report was, as that was winter last year. When we go through our strategic plan update, to speak to the pre-K piece, the goal for us is to get full day K, and knowing space is an issue, that will fill the buildings, right? They'll put us at a capacity. This is an exaggeration, but let's say capacity limits, right? That's going to fill the spaces in our building. So our option when we take the next step past full day K would be, I would see the primary piece would be a partnership with local providers for pre-K.
Right.
The state explicitly told us when we met with them to discuss full day K that they don't support the construction of a building to facilitate specific pre-K, right?
Right.
The goal is not to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars for the pre-K program to then get funded. The piece was bolster the pre-K program you have with the space you have, and then reach out to your local businesses and local pre-K facilities and work with them, and they would support and pilot and work. Because again, the goal is also not to put businesses out of business, right? It's to support and grow those as well. So my perspective is we get full day K in place. Our only option is really to, because I don't see us having much, if any, free space to really take the step of partnering with private entities around us. So, in terms of what this bill looks like or what kind of opportunities are out there when we get full day K in place, that's to be determined. But the fact is, we're not going to have 700 empty seats, 500 empty seats in the district to fill with pre-K students. It's going to be where do we find those seats and who do we partner with?
And I saw recently Our Lady of Peace in Spotswood was closed but the parents got together, raised the money to keep it open as an academy. So there was an out for us to try to get their place. But the parents rallied and now it's an academy.
Was this
So
the Immaculate Conception building, or is this
is
a,
Immaculate Conception in
I know
Spotswood?
they were supposed to close.
It is, I'm sorry, Our Lady of Peace is in Ford's. Never
Okay,
mind.
okay.
But it
No, it's
was
okay. I was just wondering
Immaculate.
if there were two
Yeah,
of
and you're
them,
not
'cause-
even Catholic, and I'm Catholic. But yeah, they were going to close it, and I read an article where the parents rallied and bringing the school back. So that was a chance for us to grab a school
Mhm.
and put some kids over there. But they have it back as an academy now, so we lost that.
Mhm.
I don't know, Amanda, if you know of any open spaces in Jamesburg, any like churches or schools or anything like that?
There's a couple like daycares in Jamesburg. We have our 3 and 4 year old pre-K, so at our district, I believe
Right.
we're pretty at capacity there, but
Yeah.
um, there I know early childhood is very intense. There's a lot of competition to get spots at
Oh, yeah.
daycare, so
Right. And I
Mhm.
think
When
Oh,
we're
go ahead.
ready to cross that bridge,
Yeah.
there'll be people who have paved the road a little bit for us because they've already had full day K in place and they've, have some models in developing these partnerships because it would be
Yeah.
a curricular alignment. It would be, a financial alignment, especially with multiple businesses and different, whether it's, a certain amount of money that's, a fee or whatever it is that's then, grant funded by the state or however that kind of flow works. But, we'll have some time to get to that point once we get to the full day K piece.
Right. Yep. And I think it was was it West Windsor he had said had started to look into that. So, I think it'll be helpful to sort of network with other districts, to give us some ideas, whether it's, speaking to other board members or administrators to administrators, just, whatever we can do to help. But obviously we have to get that first step in process, which would be the full day kindergarten component, before we, really move on the rest.
Is it West Windsor or West Windsor Plainsboro that's
Well, it's
doing
West
it?
Windsor, Plainsboro. I think that
I know the superintendent there.
Okay.
I can give him a call if you want me to and give him your number or get,
But
and
probably
see
not
if
my number, but
Huh?
I said probably not my number. I don't know. But I feel that, if there's any
Dr. Lehman,
information we
whose
can
number
share-
should I get for him?
So when we met with the state, they shared some of the resources. So we have, the district that, because they said, would we be interested in potentially considering using private kindergartens to
Right.
help us build out a kindergarten piece?
Oh,
And, that would be offloading, right? Or sharing that instructional piece. And, our goal is to not have to do that for kindergarten, right? Not have to have a lottery for who gets to come to Monroe and who
Right.
has to go to, right? So our goal is to have our kindergarten in our buildings with our teachers. Again, so crossing that kind of public-private partnership piece is really when we dabble into the pre-K piece. And like I said, it would primarily be private, I would think, when we get down to that road, because the space piece and any of the pre-K students we have on board with us right now are, pre-K handicap, pre-K disabled, pre-K integrated programs. So, and those would remain with us, as opposed to, universal pre-K is what they call it, being, some sort of partnership with us, a curricular alignment with us, staff training and things like that. But again, those models will be kind of in front of us because other districts are already starting to do that.
All right. Let's move on just to other legislation. One thing that was signed was I just had it in front of me, the publication for the legal notices that I believe it's effective 2026. But it advocated for a change in the statute where we no longer will have to go necessarily to all of the same places where we have to post legal notices. It was done as a cost savings measure. So like, you know, we always have like all of the different like paper, like news media and
Mhm.
things of that nature. So it said from, I had it open, but as of 2026, it's either March or January, we can obviously know for sure. It says that where we will be required to post, will be changed. So, let's see, oh, here it is. An internet webpage for purpose of publishing, legal notices. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's just, you know, helpful that we won't have to advertise in all those same places. It also might make it more, it'll make it more simple for us to get those out as opposed to places where it only comes out on Sundays or things of that nature if needed, if we're no longer required to put those in those pieces of media. Let's see. There's a lot of legislation that passed, so like I don't want to go too deep into all of these things. I know that there was a statutory pause on SGOs, which as a board doesn't necessarily affect us, but it's definitely something in terms of evaluation, you know, in the district that has been that discussion for teachers. Something with water bottle filling. A grant program for public schools to purchase and install point-of-use filtered bottle filling stations and filtered faucets. That was signed by the governor as well. He was sort of on like a signing frenzy on June 30th. So there was a lot that happened all across the board. But, you know, obviously when there are things that are required for us, you know, to do, we'll hear from them in other ways besides the legislation. I think what's really important for our committee and, you know, us as board members is to try and get to things that might be a concern before they become law. So that's where I'm always trying to look. So that way, if there's a concern, you know, we can advocate for that before it's passed by the legislature. Yeah. Anything else anybody has? All right. So we will head off. I hope everyone has a good start to the school year and a good end of the summer. Thank you all for your time. And again, sorry to everyone about the tech issues we had at the beginning.
It's okay, not a problem. Thank you. Enjoy summer.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.